Are you looking for inspiring conversations about faith, film, and life? You're in the right place. Here's the host who knows the right questions to ask, Father Edward Looney.
Hey everybody, it's Father Edward. Grateful that you're tuning in for another conversation, and I'm grateful to have a returning guest today. We spoke a little bit about Father Bud in the past, the Hollywood priest, when that documentary was on PBS, and now there's another documentary that's out. It's called Fighting Spirit. It's about combat chaplains, and so I have Father Tom Gibbons here to share a little bit more about that. So thanks so much, Father Tom, for joining me and letting people know where they can watch this.
Oh, thanks, Father. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, sometimes we want to be patriotic, and the 4th of July is a great time for us to be patriotic, and Veterans Day, Memorial Day, just great opportunities for us to really revisit our roots as Catholics and just the contribution we've made in the life of America. And one of those ways is through the military chaplaincy. And yeah, it's something that I've marveled over myself just a little bit, not because I don't desire to be a military chaplain or anything like that, but just the fact that there are a lot of sainthood causes for military chaplains. There's one that is from Ireland that I just have a great love for. Reading his writings really renewed my priesthood. In addition to that Father Bud movie, I'll tell you, that renewed my priesthood too a little bit. So, but his name, the one I'm thinking of, is a guy named Father Willie Doyle, who a Jesuit with a sainthood cause, and he's a military chaplain. But there are others too. So we talk about Father Emil Kapaun. We talked about Father Vincent Capodanno, and there are others. And I read more and more about saintly, heroic chaplains. And a part of me just wonders, well, why is it that we're raising up these military chaplains when surely, in the trenches of parish life or, ministry elsewhere, there are saints too. So I don't know if you have any insight about the value of military chaplaincy and just seeing them as saintly people.
Well, yeah, no, and thanks for having me on. It's working on this film. There were so many other filmmakers who were really so strongly responsible for this film. Not Father Mike Sullivan, Mike Sullivan, who was an executive producer along with me. It was really his brainchild to really tell the story of military chaplains. Rich Hall, who really came on board and directed this project and really kind of brought it to life. And I know watching this and just watching ministers from all different faith denominations. So we talk about brave priests and heroic priests who serve as chaplains, but non-denominational Christians. We've got a Buddhist chaplain, a female chaplain, a chaplain from Islam, and they all have these amazing stories to tell. People think because I'm involved with the film as an executive producer that what's it like to be a military chaplain? It's like, oh, I don't know. I know I sometimes get PTSD if we run out of donuts after the 9:30 mass. Things can get pretty ugly there, but it's not like it's not the same thing as literally being in the trenches and getting shot at. And it's these are ministers who go into I think as ministers, we're always called to be with the most vulnerable and to walk with the most vulnerable. And, one of the most vulnerable things that anyone can be is a soldier in the middle of the battlefield being shot at. And these are ministers who are there walking with them, minister to them. If you're a Catholic chaplain, you serve everybody in your unit, no matter what what their faith denomination is. If you're a Jewish chaplain, you serve everybody in your unit, no matter what their faith denomination is. And it's really great that we're starting to get some of these chaplains that they are getting recognized. The Catholic chaplains are getting recognized by the church because of their bravery and just because of their selflessness. They're going into these battles without a weapon just to literally be with the most vulnerable.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful to hear your kind of thoughts about all of that. And one of them is Father Emil Kapaun, and I don't know if it's Kapaun or everybody has a different little
That's the big
pronunciation
debate.
for it. Yeah, yeah.
I was in
So
Wichita a couple weeks ago, and even they debate it.
yeah, yeah. In Wisconsin, we have Adele Bryce or Adele Breeze, the
Yeah.
visionary. So yeah, last names are always up for debate, it seems, in these cases. But yeah, so the documentary really chronicles a little bit about Father Emil Kapaun, and so what's the story there? What are you capturing there?
Well, it's the main the main thrust of the documentary is about Justin Roberts, who is a Christian non-denominational chaplain in Afghanistan, who served in Afghanistan, and he actually started working on the film with us and was interviewed and around and he had been kind of struggling with some what we call PTSD or some just struggles after so many people, they go through these intense experiences and the chaplains are not immune from that. The chaplains, feel those things too and take that in. And he was struggling after the war. And then in the middle of us making the film, we found out that the remains of Father Emil Kapaun or Capen were found. And so there was this great big homecoming in 2021 in Wichita, Kansas, his home diocese. And so we journey with Justin as he drives to Wichita from Louisiana in order to connect, in order to cover this celebration. It turns out to be a real healing experience for him. Father Kapaun was a chaplain. He was a chaplain in World War II, and then he re-enlisted for the Korean War. And then he became a prisoner of war by the North Koreans. And because he was insisted on going out with his men, and he insisted on being with his men in the in the POW camp. He was I think there might be some debate. It's like he was technically a non-combatant, so he might have been able to not be in the POW camp, but like decided to serve with his men, and because the conditions were so brutal, he kept on giving and giving and giving, and it ended up costing him his life.
Yeah, so that's one of the stories. So that's beautiful, just following along and that journey, to see Father Capen. And a lot of people, they walk in the footsteps of Father Capon. Like I
Mhm.
know our Propadutic year men, they went one year, they went down to Kansas and they walked, in the footsteps of Father Capon and his life story and whatnot. So
Yeah,
yeah,
they just
there's
did
all
that
these
2 weeks ago in
pilgrimages.
Wichita. Yeah.
Wow. So. And there's other moving stories. So you mentioned, just the fact that there are other chaplains, other faith denominations represented in the film. So it's not entirely telling a Catholic story, but just the story of believers. But there's another little story that I just remember because I watched this a year ago when it
Mhm.
first was a Fathom event, and we're going to talk about how people can watch it now. But
Yep.
uh, so it was about the Dorchester and these different
Yes.
chaplains being on the boat. And so maybe don't give away the whole story so people go watch it. But what's moving about that story and that retelling?
Well, what's one of the great traditions of the chaplain corps is that as we're talking about, they're there to serve everybody, and it's a beautiful story of interfaith relationship and ecumenism. And chaplain circles, the story of the four chaplains is one that ranks, if not the highest, then it's near the top of the list. In as America was gearing up to enter the European theater of World War II, there were a lot of merchant marine ships that were just shipping supplies over and across the Atlantic to get ready for the invasion. And that took many years to do. But German U-boats were, of course, monitoring them and taking those ships out and torpedoing them. So they had four chaplains on board the Dorchester, which was a merchant marine ship, and the German U-boats picked them up. The four chaplains, there was one Jewish chaplain, two Protestant chaplains, and a Catholic chaplain. And the German U-boat, sunk a torpedo in there. And as the ship was going down, they realized there weren't enough life vests. So each of the after the chaplains were handing out all the life vests that were available, when they realized they had run out of life vests, every one of the 4 chaplains took off their life vest to give it to another person so that they could get off the ship safely, knowing that giving up that life vest meant that it was going to cost them their lives. And they could be heard singing hymns and songs and going, wow. And they went down together. And it's just such a beautiful story of ministry, of self-sacrifice, that, one of the amazing things is, you work on these films, and sometimes you're just sitting in front of your computer, you're just looking at it, and you're editing bay or whatever. And then, when we start going into theaters, we start hearing people tear up. We sit, because they're such selfless, inspirational stories. And it's amazing just to kind of see the public's emotional reaction to these stories in a way that really brings people together.
Yeah. Wow. Hearing stories like that on the Dorchester, reminds you of I think there were 2 priests on board the Titanic as it was sinking, and
right.
So heroic stories there. And just any number of them that just come to mind. So there are so many heroes of the faith that really have given witness to what they believe in and wanting to sacrifice for others. So this really tells those stories. And now this is available on Amazon Prime, is it? Or how can people now
It's
go
available.
watch it?
Yeah. It's available for rent or for purchase. It's available anywhere you can download movies. So it's available on Apple, Google Play, Amazon, YouTube. I think even Fandango's got it. And Roku might have it. But if you look up Fighting Spirit, A Combat Chaplain's Journey, it'll come up. And it's got 100% audience score in Rotten Tomatoes, which never happens. We were able to release the film and have a limited release in theaters a year ago, or last November. And it was just the response was just overwhelming. It was just such an overwhelming response. And especially for Independence Day coming up, it's just a really great, it has so many great stories of patriotism, so many great stories of faith. Every time I watch it, I still get inspired.
Wow.
I've never served in the military, but it's just it gives me such a great respect for those who do serve in the military, and it gives me, and it definitely also helps renew my priesthood and my sense of ministry as well.
Yeah. What are other people saying? So people that saw it in theater, or people seeing it just, you're down there for that Wichita event. Like, what are the reactions of people right after seeing it?
Well, I mean, it's often it's often tears, so many people, there's stories of just genuinely good people making self-sacrifices, just genuinely good people making self-sacrifices. And when we did a screening a couple of weeks ago, you're just talking about the annual Kapaun pilgrimage, or they call it Kapaun's Camino. Some people may call it there, where they walk from Wichita to Pilsen in Kansas, and it's like a 4-day walk. And we did a special screening for those pilgrims on this farm. Like, we just hung up a screen, and all these pilgrims were just camping out. And we had a nice barbecue. And we're just showing the film, and it was just so meaningful and so beautiful, just to kind of just to see Father Kapaun's and everybody's life so celebrated there. It was just, and I know it's like such a great reminder of why we do what we try to do.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Capturing those stories, showing them, sharing them, and really enriching people's lives. So great work, Father. It's Fighting Spirit, available for purchase, download on all these different platforms. So maybe something worth watching over one of the patriotic holidays that we have each year. So thanks so much, Father Tom.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it, Father Ed.
If you liked today's episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. And don't forget to stay up to date with what Father Edward is doing by following him on Facebook, X, or Instagram at the handle @FrEdwardLooney. Thanks for listening, and please join Father Edward again next time for another inspiring conversation.